Welcome back, everyone.
In today's edition, we're exploring the power of shadow work.
It might change your life.
It might change your life.
And welcome back. Get that in there.
I have been wanting to touch on the subject for
Weeks.
a while. And every time we do a podcast, I get a little scared to actually touch on the subject. And I couldn't help myself in the last podcast that we did to actually mention shadow work.
Yeah, it was good.
And then, because it did coincide with blockages as well. And then I said, well, we'll put it in another podcast. Wasn't really expecting it to do in the next podcast of the day. However, here we are talking about shadow work.
Went from the last podcast to talking about our stinky pipes which are blockages, to end of it talking about shadow work. We're like, well, let's do that for the next one.
Yeah.
So you might as well start, because this is your baby. You've been wanting to do this for quite a few weeks now. So how do you want to start off?
I don't really know. Let me just... I had I guess... You know, when you have, remember when we used to have ideas and would have a running commentary that would actually that would happen in our head of what was it all about and the realizations that we have. Yeah, I forgot all those realizations that I had when I wanted to talk about this subject.
Oh, don't you love that?
Yeah, I should have written it down actually.
Yeah, that's okay, because you're now like on the edge of the cliff. You got to jump and fly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a little bird, a little baby bird.
Yeah, bugger that. I'm a big, massive eagle. Big wingspan.
What is the meaning of shadow work? For everyone, I think shadow work is going to be different for every single person. It is an individual game, shadow work. And as a teacher, what is your understanding of shadow work?
I've been waiting for the handball, everyone. I've just been counting seconds.
No, because I want to understand from your perspective, because you have taught spiritual development work for so long, you do have an understanding of shadow work, and I have an understanding of shadow work, but I actually wanted to hear from you first, being the fact that you have a lot of experience in psychic development work.
Yeah, so for me, shadow work is working on the different levels of ego and the parts of self that you don't want to look at, which are hidden, and pretty much the parts of self that need to have that light or the understanding to pretty much have the courage to look at those parts of self that you don't like.
Yeah.
And we all have them. So when I've been a student, we did a lot of shadow work. We did a lot of that with meditations or guided meditations. We did artwork with it to see what was our shadow side that would come out through the guided meditations. So that was always interesting, and nobody liked doing that work because you were pretty much confronted with that other part of self which isn't light or consciousness or love, to the part of self which is the opposite to that, really, which is darkness, fear. It can be anything, really.
It can be any of the opposite emotions or feelings of, like, even jealousy, arrogance, envy is a good one as well.
I'll give you another really good example is, so when you meet people for the first time, or you put yourself out into the world, or you go to work, you put on like your good little face, your mask of I'm a good person and I'm a hard worker, and that's what we all do. So with the shadow work, you're going behind that to find out, maybe you are not a very nice person. Maybe you're just a pretender. You're not really that great. So that's going behind that to look at that, to say, well, what do I need to look at? What do I need to heal? What do I need to let go of? What do I need to bring more light or education or love to? Because that's also a part of yourself that doesn't want to be seen in many, many ways.
And possibly we could have put it in that position because we don't want to see it as well.
Yeah, well, it's an aspect of us.
Yeah.
And it's something that nobody wants to look at.
No. I can use for my example. I didn't want to do shadow work because, like you said, it's a very hard subject to, and it takes a lot of courage for the person to look at themselves and to be face to face with the things that they don't like about themselves. And sometimes a person can or will avoid doing shadow work and keep that mask on so that they don't have to look at themselves. However, saying that, I feel shadow work is actually really awesome, especially if you want to be the most authentic version of yourself.
Yeah, it's a
If
good
you
one.
want to be really honest with yourself and a real authentic version of yourself, I feel like shadow work is a huge important part in bringing out that authenticity.
Yeah, bringing out the authentic self, being the authentic self, not hiding away behind the good little person mask. And we both have a good bullshit detector. So I call this part of the owl totem, where the people who have the work with the owl totem, they have the ability to see the illusional mask on people, which is great because then you can. It's like going. Let's just use a car salesman for example. Not all car salesmen are,
Dodgy.
Dodgy is a better word for it. That's old school car salesman. That's the snake oil and the all that sort of stuff. The sales pitch and all that sort of stuff. They don't do that now because they know that doesn't work.
No, because that pushes people away even further.
Yeah, people want somebody that's authentic, and yes, we know that they want a sale and that type of jazz. So they've had to, in a way, look at their shadow without being conscious of doing that. Oh, I'm sort of getting it more. I know what I mean, but I'm getting it all a bit mixed up.
Let's just
by trying to explain
because
it.
I'm getting it from a wider perspective. Let's just use the car
Salesman.
the car salesman or the car industry as an example. That whole range of, I'm going to put all car salesmen in the same box. I do apologise, but I am going to put you all in the same box of the old salesman. Like you said, the snake oil, the greasiness, they pretend to be your best friend and, try and sell you all kinds of things, but they keep pushing and pushing and pushing until you actually buy the car.
Yes.
Whereas now, because things have changed on many levels in this reality, the car salesman and the car industry have learned that they cannot be that shady character anymore.
Because it doesn't sell cars.
It doesn't sell cars. It actually pushes people away. So like you said, in a way, without realizing that they had to do it, even the car industry, along with the sales reps, had to let go of that shady salesman.
The pushy, chasing, trying to get the deals and stuff like that. I'm even getting also people that try to sell stuff at your front door. You get a lot of people.
We haven't had that in ages, actually.
Well, when I've dealt with them, and I have, you haven't. They're bloody pushy, and they're like, they won't leave your house until you will do what they want you to do.
Oh, see, I don't even open the screen door.
Yeah, well, that's why I'm here, to deal with that.
Oh, I'll just let them talk through the screen door, and I'm like, nah, sorry, no thank you.
So I guess it's looking at the parts of self that we don't like and don't want to look at, and having the courage to go deep into that, to go, okay, that is a part of me. I'm not very nice in this arena or that area. What can I do to fix that? And even to go deeper of, why do I have that within my psyche to begin with? Because that could be your upbringing of your parents, your education, your financial status. There's so many things that will help develop that aspect of self, which isn't
the genuine you,
genuine, authentic you. So to have the courage to go, because it's a big arena to step into, to go and do some personal development work on your shadow self and really look at it and go, wow, I need to look at this.
Yeah.
And I've mentioned to another podcast in the past, and just with probably the last 12 months or whatever time frame is, met people I didn't like, and I had to didn't like immensely, and I said to you, maybe they represent that part of myself I need to look at. So, and that was all about compassion.
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
And I'm thinking, well, am I really that lack of compassion? I need to really look at this. So I started turning it around and putting some light onto it and some healing and love into it to go, okay, I don't like getting it done to me, and not with that compassion per se. I need to change that and become more compassionate, because you can draw people or situations to you that reflect who you are, to show you what you may need to refine within yourself, which is really helpful. So that's one of the current ones, really.
Yeah.
And my relationship with a couple of these people have changed a lot because I've fixed that within me, re-looked at it, did the shadow work, and then transmuted it. So then I don't get triggered by that energy, because that energy is not as much in me anymore because I'm more consciously aware of being more compassionate and so hard and all that sort of thing. Does that sort of help with the shadow aspect that you're trying to explain?
Yeah, well, for me, the shadow aspects that I have really been looking at, it's more within myself as well, because I haven't actually experienced recently, like you have with people actually showing you
That aspect of me.
That aspect of you. I think maybe because my job is just 5 minutes in each spot, because
You don't get a chance.
I don't get a chance to really actually understand anyone. And when I do have a conversation with people, it's not, it gets a little bit deeper from surface, but it's not so deep where they would actually show themselves to you or present who they truly are to you. I'm just going to quickly go into my current job and my colleagues. Some drivers do have that experience where they are faced with a person who is abrupt, who is rude, who is arrogant, some of them do actually have those customers.
So is it possibility that those people are just a reflection of that particular driver?
Yeah, it's a possibility where my customers are all beautiful.
Yeah.
I don't get any customers that show me that kind of attitude. Hopefully not now, because they're always the same customers. But yeah, some drivers do actually have that reflected.
Keep on attracting that back to them all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's something you would need to look at. If you're that person always attracting that, it's like, well, I need to look at that within myself. If you have that knowledge and wisdom to do so.
Exactly. You have to have the knowledge and wisdom to be understanding of the shadow aspect anyway, to know that, to even realize that, okay, well, I don't find that person appealing. Why am I being irritated by that person? Whereas shadow work for me is, I think, more of a personal level. Instead of being reflected back, it's more of the feelings that I have within myself. It's a different version of shadow work where, because there are days where I don't feel as happy and I don't feel as joyful, and there are days where something just doesn't feel right within me. It's not reflected to me from the outside world. It's actually, I have to go deep within to find out what is going on. So it's a different form of shadow aspect or shadow work as well.
Yeah, because there's different levels to it.
Yeah, because I've done a lot of shadow work.
Yeah, since I've known you, you've done a lot.
I've done a lot of shadow work. So I feel like a lot of the shadow work that I have done has been what the outside world has reflected at me. Maybe now the shadow work, or not even the shadow work, maybe now the deeper level of work that I'm doing is more the personal level work.
Okay.
If that makes sense. Does that kind of make sense? It's like I've already cleared out what the world reflects to me. Now I'm clearing out and diving deeper.
Yeah, you're going deeper within yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, refining, I guess you could say.
And I guess, like you said before, tracking back as to why that has happened in the first place, which could lead to the wounds and the hurt. So I think that's what I'm doing now is actually understanding, say for example, envy, arrogance, whatever comes up within me, instead of actually looking at that kind of aspect, it's more about understanding why that aspect exists, it's like I am going further back now instead of actually just treating that part of it.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep. So pretty much taking away the different levels of onion skin.
Because for me, everything comes from a wound. Everything comes from a wound.
Or trauma.
Or a trauma or
an
something.
Experience which wasn't positive.
Yeah. So for example, I could take, arrogance or feeling like you're better than everyone. Like there's a feeling of you're better than everyone, like your knowledge is, but then there's also the arrogant ego feeling of being better. And I take that back to a point of, when did you feel like you weren't worthy, that you had to put on the mask that you are better than everyone else?
Yeah, that's an interesting one, because I've had people say, well, that person thinks he's superior because within himself he actually doesn't feel that he is. He doesn't feel worthy. So he puts on that mask or that persona of I am the best, I am fantastic. But deep within the trauma or wounding that he doesn't actually, or they don't actually feel that they are.
Yeah, exactly. And then that kind of gets inverted to thinking that they are superior.
So you're talking about then the pretender.
Yeah, it's like having to, there's a wound and somehow, like we all do, we have a wound of something and we have to have this almost protector to hide that wound or that hurt, which is the persona that we send out to people. Which could be, say for example, someone who feels like they're superior than everyone else.
Yeah.
Like, let's use Anakin Skywalker as a good example.
Yeah, he's a good archetype.
From his young age, in the movies, as we all know, he was perceived to be, I don't know if you call him the savior, but the one that was going to help.
Because he had a lot of gifts at a very young age. He had something special about, qualities
there was
about him.
a special spark about him, and he was a very loving young kid.
The force was strong within that one.
Yeah. And so then, but as he grew older, I think what I'm understanding from his own aspect is that as he was growing older, I felt like he needed to be as high or at the same level as all the masters, probably because everyone had told him that there is something special about him.
And the reason why he didn't go through the ranks as fast as he lacked wisdom, he lacked knowledge. He had gifts and abilities and power, but he lacked. There's a lot more that's needed to become
that self-development.
Which is experience, which is knowledge, which is wisdom. There's a lot more that you are needing to have within you than just a pure gift.
So I'm getting, like, even though I said that sometimes the mask can come from a wound, the mask can also come from maybe having people giving you a perception that you are this complete amazing savior of something, and as time goes on you might feel like you're superior, so therefore you should be with the superior officers.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I'll give you a personal example. When I was a student and I was doing the healing courses of personal development, I got to a level as a healer I was doing really well. And I'm like, I just said to the teacher and everybody, I said, I'm just ready to, I guess, be like Anakin Skywalker. Okay, I'm ready to do the big stuff now. I'm ready for this, ready for that. And then I had one of my guides come through at that time. Somebody say to me, Jayson, if that happened, you would never be as successful as what you are meant to be, because you lack the wisdom and the knowledge of self and the maturity of self to go to the levels where you need to go to in the future. And I thought, oh, that's just crap, bullshit. I'm ready. And it didn't happen. But I look back at it now, spiritually, I was still just a child. I was still learning, still growing, still developing. So I thank the teachers back then for their fantastic wisdom and knowledge, because I would have fallen flat on my face and been laughed at because I didn't have that knowledge, that wisdom, that personal development of self, that ego shadow development, because I was working on a part of ego that needed a lot more refining and a lot more work. I needed to go through more of the shadow aspect of self, which is the ego, the arrogance and stuff like that. I had to clear and work through all that. So when I got to a different, what I perceived to be a higher level as a healer, I was a lot more grounded, a lot more knowledgeable, had a lot more wisdom, a lot more humble, not based on just ego, I'm the best. In a way, like Anakin Skywalker.
That's a very good archetype of someone who felt like they were superior than everyone else.
Because they had a gift.
And deserved to, and he deserved that he should be there with the masters. But he didn't have the substance to be there in the first place.
So that's really, I love how you brought this up, because I'm just seeing that part of myself back then is the same as Anakin Skywalker. I had gifts, and I couldn't work out when I couldn't be at the top. And he was told exactly what I was pretty much told.
But unfortunately, he got led down the dark path because he got fed what he always wanted.
Yeah, opportunity to be grandeur.
Yeah.
With his power and more powerful beyond measure.
Yeah.
And I've always said that absolute power can absolutely corrupt.
But it really depends on the person.
It does depend on the person, and it depends on your ego development.
Yeah.
It really does.
Yeah.
And your shadow, in the shadow work that you've done the work on as well.
Yeah, exactly. So ego development and shadow work really
go
go
hand in hand. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big topic, and it's a really excellent one. So well done again to you.
Thank you. I keep getting reminded bringing up my shamanic training. Because this morning I found a description of what a shaman is, and the shaman being a healer, and then they walk between the worlds or something along those lines and things. And you've always explained when you told people that you're a healer, and then you tell them who I am, and then you go, she's a shaman, and you kind of like you said to me that they kind of go, oh, okay, let's not mess with her because of just being a shaman.
My perception of a shaman, and people, or the collective's perception of a shaman, it's intense training, and it holds a heavier weight.
And the reason why I bring that up is because the training that I have been under had the 4 directions. And in the 4 directions, you got the directions of north, south, east, and west. And each direction has a meaning of something. And a lot of the people in my group were in the north direction, which is a hummingbird. Some were in south, which is snake. I don't know if there was any in east, which is eagle, which I find very interesting. And only very few, maybe 1, 2, I'm not sure, was the west. And to me, I was placed in the west, and the west is all about the shadow work.
Yeah, going within the deep aspect, the deep caverns.
And I
self.
didn't want to.
No, of course
I'm
not.
like, I don't want to be in that direction. I don't want to. And she's spilling my teacher's going, yes, but they are considered one of the strongest, and really trying to kind of sell the fact,
Used car salesman. Shaman used car salesman.
Trying to sell the fact that, you're one of the most best powerful shamans because you go into the dark night of the soul and you do this in the shadow and do this and I'm like, no, I don't know.
That's hard work, love. I don't want to do that.
I'm like, I don't want any of that. I don't want to do that. But looking back on it now, it is exactly what I've been doing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, so you can be the best version of self, or the best authentic self.
Yeah, and I still work on it today. I still do my own inner shadow work.
As we both do.
And also understanding on another level of the energetics that shadow work can also come from outside of you, because we talk a lot about galactics and, things along those lines, AI and stuff like that a lot of the shadow work can also be false personalities as well.
Yeah.
And we did discuss, I think this yesterday, about, because my perception on our reality is that it is a hologram, because I have witnessed the fact that it is a game, and I have an understanding that we have an understanding that things can actually be programs. So I said to you yesterday, I think it was yesterday, that what if all this nonsense of not even shadow work, but like the negative personalities, the negative traits are actually just programs that we believe that are real, but they're not. And I used to think that if it was just a program, therefore it's not real, therefore it doesn't exist, and I can, just toss it aside and move on. However, I have rethought that and re-looked at that answer within myself, and even if it is a negative trait or a shadow trait that I don't want to look at, I would rather still heal that within myself, because then at least I know that I've healed it, worked on it, and now I can move past from it instead of just tossing it aside and not actually looking at it, because there's a possibility that it could come up again. And if it comes up again and I haven't actually healed that within myself, then it could actually trigger me again, or
Until you look at it, it may not go away.
Exactly. So I guess that ties in with blockages as well, like we discussed. Like if you don't actually look at the blockage, if you keep having a blockage turn up, it'll keep turning up until you actually look at it.
Yeah, but there's looking at it, and then there's having the right knowledge or wisdom to understand it as well. I mean, sometimes we just don't have that knowledge to clear it or understand it or even see it on a level.
No, that's exactly it. But my perception has changed on it. So even if it is an AI program or whatever it is, I would still rather actually clear it within myself than I know that I've actually cleared it within myself.
Yeah, because if it's true what people say about if we are all one, so as you clear that aspect of that energy over there, you are clearing that within you.
Yeah.
As you love and have compassion for that shadow aspect which is over there, and you just give it love and look at it for what it is, you are therefore clearing that and loving you, if that's the shadow aspect of self.
I'm being reminded that I need to slow down, because I feel like I'm talking like I'm talking really fast, and I'll get this feeling like it's just slow down, take a breath, Alison.
Oh, it's okay, because the more speedy you are, less I have to edit.
It's really weird. I feel like I'm talking so super fast that I can't keep up, and I'm getting this feeling is like, just take a breather.
Yeah, I don't think you're talking fast. But...
Oh, I feel like I'm talking fast.
Okay. Is she talking fast to everyone out there?
Yes, shadow work is very interesting. I still think it's worth it. I
feel that to do that work, say if you get incarnated and come back into the game or whatever, and you are meant to do the shadow work, you will attract the experiences or attract the people to help you dive into that part of self to do the shadow work, to fix and heal that, which unfortunately not a lot of people have the opportunity as well. Maybe because they're not ready to do the deeper work of self.
Let me just share that it actually does work, that you actually can move on from the things that you look at. If you're willing to look at it and you're willing to understand and perceive and heal it, you actually can. I'm just having this realization that you actually can move on from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you resolve it, then there's no need for you to do the work on it anymore, because you've resolved it within you.
Yeah, exactly. I just had this...
It's like getting rid of the ball and chain.
Yeah. I don't know why I didn't have this light bulb moment before, but I just have it now. It's like you actually have moved on from it.
That's excellent. And that's the beauty of us sharing our perceptions and our experiences on the podcast, because as I said to you the other week, I said, I feel like we're back in class again. Just sharing our information, our perceptions, and getting some other things come through. And hopefully as we're healing ourselves and each other just by sharing and expressing and talking, that will help the ripple effect go to other people that might go, wow, I didn't think of it that way. That's a really interesting perception. Maybe I should have a look at that. And that's what what we do is about as well. It's really important. We should give ourselves a pat on the back to have the courage to do this and to share it to the public arena, because some of this stuff is a bit hardcore and a bit different.
I feel like with everyone that is listening here, if you're I feel like that we need to share, or we need to explain that, yes, shadow work can seem very overwhelming, but take it one step at a time. And if you have a teacher or someone who is well versed in understanding shadow work, like working from integrity, then it really, don't give yourself such a hard time.
I try to do some shadow work on my healing clients. Most of them don't want to know that there's something wrong with them, or not wrong with them, but there's some work to be done, because let's use relationships. Because I will say, well, if you're in a relationship that there's stuff you don't like about that person that you're with, maybe you need to look at that within you. And they're like, nothing wrong with me, mate. It's all bloody them. Well, I said, well, okay. You never move forward. You need to have the courage and let go of the ego to go deep within self, to do the clearing, do the work. It will be magnificent. I will guarantee to everyone it will be magnificent.
Absolutely. I second that, because I didn't want to look at, and I'm sure you, like you said before, you're like, I don't want to look at that.
No bloody way.
No, who wants to look at, the things that they don't like about themselves? However, saying that, like we keep saying, having the courage to really, if you take yourself out of it and kind of look at it as like a third person.
Like a observer?
Yeah, if you be the observer at it and see for it as like a third person, it might have a better understanding, or you won't feel so confronted by it. However, it is the best personal work you could possibly do for yourself.
And a lot of it's writing and journaling and looking, and it's not as all magical and all far-fetched as what we're talking about. It's pretty practical, really. Just start by writing stuff down that you don't like about yourself or you don't like about another person. I've been getting this in my head for the last probably 20 minutes. When I was heaps younger, I had a big friend group and really close friends. I loved the bits, but there was stuff about some of these friends I just like was doing my head in. So I got told, I got a download. Well, what you need to do is you need to write the person's name on the piece of paper, go through what you don't like about them, what you do like about them, and own that within yourself. And after I did that, my friendships left.
Oh.
Yep. Done. No more friendships. And I didn't know that. I wasn't told that at the time because I probably wouldn't have done that.
Oh.
It doesn't always work that way because I've tried it before and it didn't. But
I guess for them.
But with this occasion, I didn't like. I don't remember what it was that was upsetting me or they were upsetting me with, but I must have really owned that part of myself within them and went, oh, I don't want to be that. I don't want to do that. That's not right. And for some reason, that was it. They're gone. I haven't seen them. It's been over 20 years.
I'm just getting as well, like you brought up with the journal. A journal is a really safe place for people to actually pour out everything that they don't like and everything that they're feeling. Be honest with, even if you don't like what you are seeing about yourself or what you're feeling, even if you're feeling anger, a journal is a really awesome way to just take all of that energy and put it into paper, and it can be a really safe place for you to do it. And if you don't want to be judged for what you're actually writing or saying or feeling, a journal is the best place to put it.
Yeah. Same as doing automatic writing. Don't judge it. Just write it and just put it on paper, and then you can look at it, re-look at it later.
I'm laughing because I'm like, ugh.
We've done a lot of automatic writing, or especially I have, and the stuff that's come out, and I'm writing it down. I'm like, just don't judge it, Jayson. Don't fear it. Just allow it to write, and then you can re-look at it later and see what is real, what's not real, what doesn't and does feel right. Yeah.
I've learnt, which only just recently, I've learnt that you have to be objective when you're doing this work.
But if you have the courage to do it and jump in and have a look, it's definitely worthwhile.
And one of the other things that I am doing now, because I have done journaling for a long time, I've only just taken it up again. I have discovered about the awesomeness of writing everything down, and then you get information as you're writing your problem down. You might get an information or a solution on how to heal it, and then you also can take that, like your solution, you can create an art journal, and then it's almost like whatever you've written down, angst, problem, whatever, and you've got your solution, you can now actually create something if you're into art, or if you're not into art.
Because this is what you're doing at the moment.
This is what I'm doing at the moment. I'm actually having a written journal and an art journal at the same time. And it's really cool to have that transition between the two, to write down whatever is bothering me, possibly to come up with a solution. Sometimes I don't always come up with a solution, but then it's like I've let all that out, and then I can actually work in my art journal and just feel whatever I want to create, whether it's, cutting out pictures, cutting out words, just painting, stamping. And I've never done that before, and it's actually a really awesome process to be able to work with the two and use it as kind of like a transition or a transformation from the issue to the solution.
Yeah, and expressing that through writing and through the visual art form.
Yeah, because I guess the writing is the dumping form, and then which could be the deconstruction of what's going on, and then the actual art form is the creation, is creating something from that, creating, whether peace, beauty, whatever you feel.
Yeah, it's really cool to watch you do it. Yeah, and it brings you a lot of joy.
And sometimes it doesn't have to be pretty, but that's okay. It's your work.
Yeah, it's really fascinating stuff. I want to see if I can get some info. What do you think?
Yeah, cool.
I want to bring in my soul group again that I've been working with the last probably few podcasts, and we are now talking about shadow work. So this will be interesting. Yes, I haven't left from the last podcast. Here I am again. Very patient I am. Thank you.
I want to know why you were crossing your hands.
Alison wants to know why you're crossing your hands. She's just saying that the energy wasn't as high as what it has been before, and there was a bit of clearing that had to be done and a bit of protection work that had to be done.
Yeah, because for the viewers that are or anyone that is listening or watching us, the weekend hasn't been, the greatest.
No.
Energetically, we're not entirely too sure if it's a whole collective thing. I'm going to say it's kind of a collective thing here in Victoria anyway. It hasn't been so flash.
In our suburbs, not great.
Yeah, and if you haven't listened to the last one before this, we've got some pipe issues too.
Yeah, so it's all happening here. Jeez, are you happy with that, Alison?
It's like, hey, I'm happy.
Another fantastic topic, shadow work, the best work that you can do for your personal evolution, for yourself, going deep within yourself and finding those parts of self that need to be looked at, healed, loved, and just simply cleared, let go of, and released. As you both said, this is not easy for everyone to do, but if you have the opportunity to dare to look and go deep within yourself, to share more light and more knowledge and help clear and love those wounds, it will transform your life forever. You hold on so much pain and suffering within your cellular structure of being. This gives you an opportunity to go into the cellular, to release, clear, and send love and healing and transmute that, so you become lighter in frequency and lighter frequency of being, therefore tapping into more of your higher consciousness of who you truly are, and able to share that with others around you. Just through your frequency alone, your energy alone will become more clearer, more lighter. People will be drawn to your energy simply because you're a lot more clearer, a lot more freer, liberated. So yes, do the work. It is important if you have the courage to do so. Any questions, Alison?
Any practical steps for people who are unsure to, if they want to, but they're a little unsure on how to start and go about it? Like we said with journaling, it's probably a very beginner-friendly way of doing it.
Just start by the things that you don't like about yourself. Start with the people around you that you don't like about them. They are components of you that you may need to look at, and simply write them down and see if it sits with you. See if it's in alignment with you and you feel like that's what you do as well. But one of the keys is to take your ego out of it, your sensitive ego, because the ego will want to challenge you and tell you, no, you are perfect. There's nothing about you need to change. You have wings of an angel and a halo top of your head. So be mindful the ego will try to do little games like that, so you can't go deep into the mud of self and clear it and transmute it.
I'm sorry.
We are being very pedantic or very heavy-handed with our expression of words to give our point across. It's like poetry, isn't it?
Oh, it was so funny because when I heard halo, I just thought of you.
My halo, yeah, it's beneath my knees, everyone.
Really interesting point of digging in the mud. That's a really interesting way of describing it. And the ego being so sensitive. It's true. The ego is very, very sensitive. I feel like when a person actually gets hurt, it's not their heart that's getting hurt. It's the ego that is getting hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, you are so correct, Alison. It's the shadow work and the personal development work is the ego development work. The ego will tell you nothing but lies, and it will try to deceive you to make it think that it is the best. Not for everyone. We are not stating that everybody has this. We are exaggerating here to bring a point across. But just let us tell you, as you do this process, just breathe and take a step back, as you said, Alison, to be the observer. And it's okay that you have things that you need to look at. It's one of the reasons why you were here. So you can progress, you can evolve, you can reach to a higher consciousness of being. This is what everybody wants, yes? We're going to say yes on behalf of Alison.
Oh, yes. What about the energies? Let's talk about the hologram program and the energies that place falsities on top of, like, false personalities.
That is up to you to do discernment. It's up to you to take it as an aspect of yourself or a hurdle for you to jump over, or just to share your light with that energy and not be triggered by it. If you are massively triggered by it, then it's something you may look at within you that needs to be cleared or loved, or simply just brought light into that energy. You will perceive that everything's out to get you. This is not so true. Things will come at you for you to look at and to see if you are triggered, to see if you're ready to step into a new level of being, to see how far you've come. I guess you could say tests or exams are here in this game, this realm, on this planet, and it's up to you to pass those tests, but to do it with an open heart and not always come from a place of fear and an ego fear as well. The ego is a very fascinating tool, experience, just on its own. It is here for survival. It's here to keep itself in the forefront of your life. And this is not always good. It's up to you as the individual to balance the ego, to put it back in its place, so to speak, to be the best version of you that you can be. Is that making sense?
Yeah, that makes sense as well. Did you understand that? She was pretty much saying that no one is out to get us. No one is like coming after us. And I'm like...
But at times it feels that way.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Sometimes it does feel that way. Especially some certain time travelers that wear suits.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
They might actually be coming after us for...
something we might do in the future.
Possibly.
Yeah, something we might say, something we might shift. Yeah. And don't forget that, say if you call this person a guide or a sharer of knowledge or wisdom, she doesn't know it all. You're not even, a Senate Masters of people into Senate Masters know everything. They're just versions of us that may have a little bit more wisdom or have the ability to have a different perception because of where they come from. It's like when you have somebody in your life, say a friend that hasn't had the same experiences or done the same shadow work, you're going to know slightly more than what they are, what they know. So I guess perceive it as that.
It was just interesting how she was explaining it, and it's like, but there are some situations, like you just said, where timelines do interact. Yeah. And there are some individuals on different timelines and different frequencies that might actually come after you because of something you have done or because of something that you might do that might just shift the
agenda that wants to be played out for the negative.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless you're doing something negative, then that's, it's the same
story.
saying.
Yeah.
So, but it's interesting you bring that up because that's instantly what I got, that some people are watched, or say you're talking about the dudes with the black glasses, for example. Yeah. The famous movie. With us, I was getting that because we're all about putting out their good vibes and good intentions and sharing our heart vibration, our heart frequency to the world. That might actually help with a bigger shift than what we think. And people might start to think differently or maybe wake up or start the healing process within themselves, for their family, their friends, and that can create a wave of positivity or a positive shift. And there's a lot of energies out there that don't want that to happen. They want to keep on things going on how they're going on now, which is control and all the big hoo-ha that's going around. So that makes sense as well, what you were saying.
Yeah, because control is a big thing on, I guess you could say the control and manipulation and deceit are probably one of the three main bigger plays of negativity, you could say. Yeah.
I guess I think what was said in the message was something about discernment as well.
Yes, it was about discerning, if I remember correctly, it was something about discerning whether or not you choose to take that on board, or you choose to see it as an aspect of you, or you choose to move it along, or something along those lines. But something, it's up to the individual to discern. What I got from that was, it's up to the individual to know who they are.
Yeah, it comes back down to that on a many levels, doesn't it?
Yeah. Probably not on the subject of shadow work, but for some reason I do want to bring up along the lines of knowing who you are. In the last podcast that we did, I was explaining to Jayson when we were having a break that when you were doing your channeling, and I always feel a lot of things on the left side of me, and I spoke about in the last podcast how I felt like there was a blockage, an energetic blockage, because I was kind of feeling a little shriveled up. During our break, I explained to Jayson that the reason why I felt shriveled up was because there was all these beings in here that were really big and tall, and it was almost like I had to shrink myself down to be able to fit in the space here.
Yeah, so there's a lot of big energy here.
There was a lot of big energy. But the more I tried to, but then all of a sudden a part of myself is like, Alison, you just got to be you and be your true sovereign self. But the more I tried to be my true sovereign self, the more, so that goes into hand, like, stop trying so hard. You just got to be. Yeah. Because the more I tried to be my true sovereign self, the more I couldn't, the more I felt like a child in this room, because I felt so small in comparison to everyone else. And all I needed to do was actually step into my heart space, allow more of my heart space, I should say, and be my sovereign self. But the thing is, I think I was in such a child, I didn't feel like a child, but such in a small position that I couldn't actually step into my sovereign self to claim who I am.
Because then I said to you, well, maybe perhaps you don't feel worthy of that. And I'm getting that now as well, that to feel worthy of being with the big energy, because you are big energy, but it's still you're not trying to, but healing those parts of yourself that feel lesser than.
And that would be shadow work as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's a practical thing that's happened today to share with everyone. That's really good. Yeah, because we are worthy. Full stop.
Yeah. I was consciously, while you were doing your channeling, I was actually talking to myself going, Alison, I am worthy. My energy is just as big, but do you think I could get it there?
Yeah.
No. And I think that comes down to my own trauma around me of spirit, like not good spirit around me.
Yeah, you've had a lot of interesting things play out. But at the same time, it's really helped you to grow and stand more into your personal power, and also not be controlled by the fear of that as well, like owning you.
Yeah, and I just reflected back on what you said about being worthy. Yeah, I didn't feel worthy enough to be as big as what I can be.
And it's not even about that. It's just being.
Yeah.
Like, I sit here and I don't need to try to be anything other than I just am. I don't have to prove a point to any being. I just need to be me.
Yeah, but you were sitting there channeling, and I was sitting here feeling like I'm,
Yeah, and that's the different levels of conscious awareness, different levels of self that we all have. And I said to you on our break that these beings might have a different level of consciousness or a different level of experience, or they're working from a higher dimensional frequency, so therefore their energy bodies are different than what we are, because we are in the physical format. physically, and that's okay. It doesn't mean we have to feel inferior. Thank you. And that's just part of the learning cycle. Again, it'd be like being around billionaires.
Yeah.
In a way.
It is a bit like that.
You rock up if you're a little bitsy, and there's all these Mercedes.
And you kind of feel a little bit out of the...
And you're pulling up to have the people come and take the car away, to park it, and you're like walking in, I'm just getting this really crazy visual. I remember driving to a really swish hotel in the city, taking my girlfriend at the time. This is going back when I was 19, and I had to pull up my little Corolla and get the guys to park it, and they just looked at the car, and I felt so embarrassed.
Oh.
And I had to just let it go. It's like, well, that's just the way it is. I'm not driving, a Mercedes or a Porsche. You know what I mean? So I'm just getting that sort of, just let it go and it's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's what happened in our last podcast.
On our break.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting stuff. We keep on learning and keep on growing and keep on experiencing. And so I'll see if there's anything else. Otherwise, I'm going to say goodbye. Anything else that you'd like to, before we go? Yeah, it's very interesting that you said just be, Jayson. You all just need to learn to be the best that you can at that moment in time. There's no need for comparing yourselves to each other. You just need to be the best versions of you as you can. It is quite simple. Ego, that is the one place where it wants to be better or feel lesser than. So for those who are ready, do some work on the shadow aspect of that part of the ego that needs to compare itself to everything else around it. Until next time, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. There's no fluff. There's no love and blessings and may,
So it's just like, goodbye. I'm like, oh, okay, goodbye.
Yeah. Gone. Yeah, so that's interesting because the ego part of self wants to compare.
Yeah.
And wants to fit in or wants to...
And that's where I was trying to step back into my heart. Like, I know it sounds strange when I'm saying I'm step back into my heart space, but it's the best way I can explain it because I sit here and I can only go according to my own initial reaction and my own stuff that I'm working with and all that kind of thing and all those things that I was actually trying to be more in my heart space. But I still felt like it was like being in a room packed with people for a party and you cannot move.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah, busy room.
Yeah, that's what it actually felt like to me. And I felt small because everything was so big. It's like, because I used to know people that were almost 7 foot tall.
Yeah, that's tall.
Yeah, I used to know a group of boys, like brothers and cousins, that were almost 7 feet tall. And I'm 5'2". You got 7 feet, 5'2", me, and I'm standing there looking up, and that's what it felt like.
Were they professional basketball players by any chance?
They weren't professional, but they were basketball players.
Oh, they were? That's cool.
They were actually basketball players, yeah.
Because you would have to, wouldn't you?
You would think so,
yeah.
But that's what it felt like. It felt like the room was so crowded that you can't move, and because it was so tall, I guess my inner child is like, all these people are around.
Yeah. We're starting to attract some interesting energies as we keep going with this podcast.
But I still have my saying of only true benevolence and no one with conflicting agendas.
Of course, and that's what our true intention is, and that's what it will be. We hope that you've got something out of this.
Yeah,
it's a cool subject. I'm glad we did it. I was a little bit like, I don't know, but
I was
really
very
happy.
nervous. I was very nervous about
I'm happy we
touching.
talked about it.
Yeah. Because I feel better about, I don't know, I just kind of feel better about knowing, I guess giving myself permission to be really honest and really raw with myself in my diary, in my journal.
Yeah, and that's one of the beautiful keys. Yeah. Be real.
Yeah, you just be really raw and really honest with yourself.
We all have flaws. We all have stuff going on. We all have shadow stuff, and we're not perfect on heaps of levels. And on other levels, we're really perfect and amazing. And just getting rid of the stuff that doesn't serve us. Yeah, it's excellent. Yeah, good work. That's really good, powerful topic.
Yeah, I do like shadow work. Not always, but I do. I'm going to say I do love shadow work. Again, not always.
Yeah, but it's a chance to, I guess, free ourselves, isn't it?
Yeah.
From what doesn't work. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in, watching and listening. We hope you got some gold nuggets out of this, and we'll see you. You'll hear us next week in the next one. Love and blessings, everyone.
Bye.
Ciao.